of agenda items. So we kind of updated what we've accomplished so far, what things are still pending, what things that we're going to follow up with, and so we'll keep updating that as we go along. So if you want to add anything to that, just let me know, and we'll take care of that. Just a reminder that Thursday we are going to have a subcommittee, policy subcommittee, which is going to meet at 3 o'clock, and that's going to be followed by MASC is going to send in a representative, and we're just going to discuss school committee policies and procedures and some of the things that we talked about earlier, and kind of set for goals for ourselves. So hopefully everybody can be there, and that should be starting, I think, at 4:30.
4:30.
Be about an hour and a half. So
the first policy subcommittee is about an hour and a half,
Yeah.
and then she was estimating an hour and a half to 2 hours.
Okay.
So I will order some dinner in, just it's a kind of a working session, so just we have something to eat. But I would anticipate 4:30 to 6:30.
great. All right, so the first item on our agenda is approval of the minutes from our meeting on May 15th. So everybody have a chance to take a look at those? Okay. All right, I will entertain a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of May 15th.
Any seconds?
Second.
Any discussion or any corrections?
It's not that many of you. Yeah, I feel like I'm always in this role.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? 3-0. Okay, next up, we will open up the meeting for public comment. If you'd like to speak to the committee, please come forward. We have a sign-in sheet now, so just if you'd sign in with your name and your address. Keep in mind that this is your time to speak and to offer your opinions or express your concerns, but we cannot engage in discussion or debate about those issues. Any speakers? Guess not.
This is good.
All right, moving on.
Making progress.
Okay, so now we have our Chelmsford High School reps. Catherine's back with us again, and our new rep is Claire Rigney. Welcome, Claire.
Hi, so we have MCAS Bio that's starting tomorrow and Thursday. Both boys and girls lacrosse, boys and girls tennis, and boys volleyball are currently in the state tournament. Senior week was this past week, so we had barbecue, prom, banquet, and graduation, which went really well. We also had World Language Honor Society inductions, and we had the Pops concert on May 16th, and you can watch it on Chelmsford Telemedia. We would recommend the last number done by the band. They had the students made a video of a bunch of different movies kind of mashed together, and they played all the music along with it, and it was like perfect timing. It was student-made video. It was amazing.
In addition, the senior awards night went off without a hitch 2 weeks ago, and the underclassmen awards night or awards are on Thursday, Friday, and Monday during school. I think that's it.
That's it. Great.
Great.
I have a quick question.
Oh, yeah.
Was that you running around on the floor like
That was
crazy?
both of us.
That was
Yeah.
both of you.
Yes.
You guys were Johnny on the spot. Everywhere I looked, I could see you. I was
Yeah,
like, oh
we
my God,
were
there they are again.
Taking the pictures. Yeah.
What did you take, like 8,000 pictures then?
About 900.
About 1,000.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so.
Good work. Thanks for contributing.
Thank you.
So,
Yeah, that's right.
So I just on the heels of graduation, we had a very nice graduation. Students seemed to really enjoy what was happening, and it went out without a hitch. So congratulations again to the class of 2018. And since this is our last school committee meeting before the end of the school year, I just wanted to remind everyone that we have our Knowledge Bowl that is going to be happening on the 19th and the 20th at the Performing Arts Center. Those are our middle school students who will be competing against area districts. And I want to just say we won it last year, and I still have the nice trophy in my office. It's pretty heavy. I'm going to take it with me, so if you can attend, that would be great.
Anything else? Anybody else? I know we just got an email today about a couple of teachers got a grant, Earthwatch grant, to go study in Costa Rica.
Yes, so 2 of our middle school teachers at Parker, so Dolan Funeral Home had graciously put in for this grant for 2 of our teachers to actually go to Costa Rica to do some more studying around the areas of science. And we had Chrissy Carlson and Jen Aylward who will be attending this summer, and they're really looking forward to it. So that's a great piece of news, and we appreciate the support from Dolan Funeral Home.
Yeah, that's great. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. All right, so moving on to new business, we have some introductions, so I'll let you take it from here.
Thank you. We actually have 4 of our administrative hires here this evening just to introduce to the community. So it has been a very busy spring. The first person I'd like to invite up is Dan Hart. Dan, as many of you know, has worked in the district about 14, 15 years at this point in some different capacities, largely at McCarthy Middle School and then Chelmsford High School. Dan served this past year as our interim athletic director. did a phenomenal job, was really very well received by staff and parents and families. So we're thrilled that Dan was interested in staying on board and assuming that job on a permanent basis. So welcome, Dan. Dan is, again, going to be our AD, primarily operating out of the high school, but he helps us out quite a bit, too, with just any kind of athletic type programming and initiatives. I think one of the keys and one of the differences that we're going to see in the years to come is Dan really has made some tremendous inroads with a lot of the youth programming in town and a lot of the different youth sport venues, whether it be basketball or baseball and wrestling, things like that. So I think those connections are really going to help be a good feeder program for our high school. But I wanted to invite Dan here this evening, publicly introduce you. Thank you again for agreeing to take the job permanently.
Oh, thank you.
And if you'd like to say a few words, you're welcome to.
Yeah, no, thank you. I think you touched on it. I think connections that I've had and been able to build with the youth programs have helped. Not only will help in the future with our high school teams, but they've also been willing to help pitch in. If you look at the high school gym right now, we have the groups, our wrestling group, youth wrestling, and also the Chelmsford Police Athletic League were willing to help us with a project right away. You can see we had some old murals that were, the paint was kind of peeling off them a little bit. They were just older, and it was multicolored, and it wasn't so hot. They changed it, and everything looks good. Put some big coverings over that. They also, the class of 2016 helped out with that as well. We have a nice new scoreboard in there, new shot clock. So the gym, there's a great facelift, and it wouldn't have, been possible without the youth groups. This spring has been great. 8 of our 9 teams are in the state tournament. One of them's playing right now, so I'm going to rush out of here afterwards and finish that up. But our volleyball team, we have 2 lacrosse games tomorrow night. Our boys and our girls team, which you were on, is the #1 seed in Division I North tournament, and they're taking on Andover tomorrow night. So it's been a fun year. The spring was tough in the beginning, probably the worst weather we could have for spring sports, but it's ended up being great, and I'm really looking forward to the end of the year to see how they do.
Anybody have any questions for Dan?
Just one thing I noticed on the memorandum from Dr. Lang, it said that your goal is to make athletes a larger part of the Chelmsford community. And I want to thank you again for the work on that they did on behalf of the Friends of the Library. It was a boys volleyball team that came and volunteered a couple hours. They were tremendous help. I don't think we could have done it without them. They were just very hardworking, very focused. And then the Friends provide pizza for them afterwards. And even there was feedback from the community about what polite young men they were, and just how well behaved they were. So I wanted to pass that on to you, that it was a tremendous help, and they were just great kids.
Oh, thank you so much. They're a good group.
Anybody else? John? I would just say welcome. I was just recently talking to a fellow athletic director from the Merrimack Valley, and he was very impressed with what you've been doing, and I know the ADs are not easy group to impress, so keep up the good work.
I've got them fooled then.
You get a fool.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Good luck tonight with your games.
All right, thanks a lot.
Moving on to our second person, as you recall, a number of years ago, due to some budget reductions, we had to combine some administrative roles within the district. So we, for a number of years, had to combine our math and science curriculum coordinator positions. Matthew Baranovan kind of assumed both roles. Last year, we were able to reinstate the science coordinator position, and we were able to attract John Morris to come on board, and we were able to split those roles. So I think we've really seen a difference this year, particularly at all levels of the organization. But I know John was able to spend more time at the elementary school level than previously having a joint coordinator was able to accomplish. So this year, we're very happy also through the budget process about being able to reinstate an English coordinator. So previously, for the last number of years, our Stephanie Quinn has taken the lead and been both the ELA and social studies coordinator. But we're very happy, and I'm going to let Linda announce, Abby Dick is going to be joining us as the English coordinator. So we're able to now separate back those roles when we were able to bring back a full-time coordinator for English. So I will let Linda talk a little bit about your background and then welcome you to the district.
So everyone, this is Abby Dick. She's going to be our new ELA department coordinator for grades 5 through 12. And Abby's coming from that same background of being the humanities coordinator from Malden, so she knows what it's like to be running multiple departments, because it wasn't just 2 departments as we got a little deeper into what she was doing. She's doing a lot of departments. So she's very excited to be doing this one role where she can focus on English. Prior to that, she's been an English teacher for many years, and in fact, she's going to be moving to the Chelmsford Chelmsford community in 2.5 weeks, right? She found a place to live, so we're excited, she's excited. I had even put in, and you'll see it in your memo, because this was a notice that went out to the English department, that she said this is her dream job, so we'll see, how that dream job is going. We'll check on you in a couple of months and see how it's going. And she's already had a chance to meet some of the other coordinators, and she'll be working obviously closely with Stephanie for that transition period. And, obviously I held that role before, so there'll be many supports there. And we're excited to have you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank
so-
you very much. I was an English teacher in middle and high school for about 10 years, and then I went to work for DESE, the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, as a literacy specialist. And in that role, I moved to Malden, and then I started working for the Malden Public Schools. So I am so excited to be here. I've heard nothing but awesome things about the district. Everyone's been really, really nice and helpful so far, so I'm really thrilled.
Anybody?
Just a quick comment. So I think sometimes people don't think parents really pay attention, and these coordinator positions actually come up a lot with parents. It's actually very important. So I'm very happy that you're here, and glad that you could fill the need, and I'm glad you guys met and you guys worked it out, and now you're on board. So welcome aboard. And the second thing I'd like to say is, I don't know how you found a house in Chelmsford, but if that's anything about your work ethic, I'm already impressed. It's pretty tough right now.
Like in a week?
It's it's an apartment, and it's right down the street, and it's fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to be so close.
Yeah, that was quick, that was quick, because you started maybe a week and a half ago, and
That's
voila.
Here you are.
Figured it out.
In this real estate market, you can't. find
I
it.
know, so.
Welcome aboard.
Yep.
Thank you very
Welcome
much.
to Chelmsford, welcome to the
Thank
school
you.
district. Great.
We're beating St. John's Prep
Are we?
in volleyball. Which is always nice.
Thank you. And I'll actually invite them up at the same time, perhaps. As you know, this year, we were fortunate enough through the budget process to be able to add some assistant principals at the elementary level of our district. This has been something we've talked about for quite some time. We've been doing a lot of work in the district about, obviously, on our academics, but we've really taken a focus the last couple of years on some of the more social emotional learning pieces. A lot of that really ties in good, staff-student ratios, needing some additional administrative support, again, particularly at the elementary levels, to really make the job doable and to make it a little more enjoyable. So we're thrilled, quite honestly, to have our first two elementary assistant principals before you this evening. Betsy Dolan is going to be joining us, and she is going to be at Byam and Harrington Elementary Schools with Rob Asselin, the new principal at Harrington, and Jason Fredette, who is at Byam. And Mr. Jason Romalo is going to be joining us at Center Elementary School with Diana Fullreader and Molly McMahon over at South Row. That's going to be a tough one, Diana, because Jason did go to South Row, so there's a little bit of a history there, but we'll have to work that through. But no, could not be more pleased that number one, we're able to establish these positions, but that Betsy and Jason have accepted the office to come on board. I'll let them speak, but Betsy's actually joining us from the Shirley School System, where she's currently serving as a school counselor, and Jason is coming from the Methuen Public Schools, where he is a phys ed teacher and has been doing a lot of work in the district with social emotional learning, and so we're very excited about that. He's going to fit very well into our programming. So Betsy, welcome,
Yeah,
and
thank you
Jason,
for the
welcome.
introduction. I could probably speak for both of us to say we're just really excited to be here, and probably to fast forward the next few weeks, the interim between now and July 1st. And I'm just really excited to work with both principals and both schools, and have us all, forward to get together, and also us both work together, as the time goes on every month.
Yeah, thank you so much for this opportunity. It is amazing to be back in this community, a product of the Chelmsford Public Schools, attending South Row, as Dr. Lang said, McCarthy, and the high school. It's just so great to be back in an amazing district, as I know as a student. So I'm just looking forward to giving back and building relationships, and again, working with the administrative team at the Center South Row. In addition to us working together as assistant principals, I'm really looking forward to this next chapter, and I'm glad to be back to Chelmsford.
Anybody have any questions?
I just wanted to say that in 2 years, you're going to have 2 Moses children in the Byam, so good luck.
Nice
Is that a warning or just?
It's a more of a
Very nice
warning.
children.
No, they're fine when they're separate.
It's
It's
the
when they put
father.
them together. That's what I mean.
Dad.
But no, welcome. Both of
Thank you, thank you.
No, we're very much looking forward to it, and I realize the end of the school year is tough because you're closing down things in your own district, but I know you're already getting a sense of meeting some of the community here and being invited to some school events, and we'll hit the ground running this summer, but we're really excited about this.
That's
Now,
good.
I guess if we figure out the mechanics, we're gonna go certain days of the week at each school, or?
The principals and the new assistants are going to work on
Okay.
that. It'll be a split between the two buildings.
Right.
But they're going to be working through the scheduling as they kind of come on board over the summer.
Right.
Yeah. Great.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for coming this
Thank you.
evening as
Thank
well.
you.
Okay, so next, we have ratification of a memorandum of understanding or agreement for the new assistant principals, correct?
Correct. So before you this evening, in our CAA, which is our administrative bargaining unit, we have a number of positions. We have curriculum coordinators, middle school assistant principals, an athletic director, Dan that was here earlier, but we actually don't have the title elementary assistant principal. So just so that there is no conflict or whatnot, we worked with Andy, our attorney, to just draft a memorandum of agreement that basically just in the interim recognizes these two positions and just will include them within the same category as the middle school assistant principals. We're in the middle of a contract right now, so this will actually get incorporated or formalized the next time we do a negotiation, but this will be kind of a bridge agreement. So this just really recognizes those two new positions in that classification within the administrative bargaining unit. So if you have a chance to review it, just a motion to authorize the chair to execute the MOA on behalf of the school committee.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion, any questions? So my question just was, in terms of, we've already discussed this with the union itself, and they're all
Yes, the
on board with
CAA
that,
was on board.
board with adding the position?
Yep, no, correct. This is the easier way of kind of going about doing it.
Yeah.
Technically, these are administrative positions, and the union would have a right to insist that these positions basically be recognized within their group. But we want to have that done anyway, so it's not really a dispute. This is just a way to have it be formally recognized before we actually do the next contract. But no, they're certainly in support of this. There were members of the union that actually participated in the interview process, so they get to see the candidates. Yes, they're in full support, and after Andy prepared the MOA, I ran it by Matthew Baranovan, who's the president of that union, and he's agreed to it as well. So once you execute it, he'll do the same.
John, you have a question?
No questions.
Anybody else?
No, you asked it.
Okay, it's not, okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? 4-0.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda this evening is authorization for non-affiliated staff increases as of July 1st. So we have a number of employees in the district who are not part of a collective bargaining unit or who do not have an individual employment contract. So they're basically employees at will. And every year, we take a vote for these individuals to basically grant them the same raise or the same cost of living increase as our other employees in the district are receiving. So Joanna has prepared this memo, basically with a list of the individuals who would be affected, and this would be to authorize a 2% salary increase to each of these individuals effective July 1. So this would be for the 18-19 school year to grant these individuals that 2% increase that the other employees in the district are receiving. So again, after you review it and answer your questions, it would just be a motion to, and this would have to be a roll call vote because of the money involved, but a roll call vote to support this request.
I move to approve a 2% increase to the annual salary or the hourly rate as specified to the non-affiliated employees listed.
Second. And I have a question.
Any discussion yet? Questions?
So just a quick question, it's more for just my knowledge. So these, even though these are not affiliated, they still receive, for over the 30 hours, they receive full-time benefits? My mic.
Oh, sorry.
Shutting you off.
Yep, many of them are,
Okay.
but a few of them are not.
Okay, is it just based on full-time status, or?
No, so there are some employees on this list who are part-time,
Okay.
who I'm requesting that, and we have it requested in prior years as well, but they still get a 2% increase.
Okay.
The insurance threshold is basically how many hours a week you work. So if you're working under, I think it's under 19 hours a week, you wouldn't be eligible for the benefits.
Okay, that's what I was
And some of
asking.
these staff are like community ed staff, so they're just an hourly rate for like a couple hours a day.
Gotcha.
So they wouldn't be on benefits. Anyone who hits the hourly threshold who would qualify would be part of the benefit package.
That's all I had. Thank you.
Donna, Al, questions?
No.
I just one question. I see the nurse coordinator position is on here, so is that still a non-affiliated position? I knew we were trying to move it.
Yeah, it's a very long story.
Okay.
Technically, at this point, it is still, it's still considered a non-affiliated position. We're working to incorporate that into the Administrators Association as well. It's hung up with paperwork between basically a matter between the teachers union, the CAA, and us. So we would hope that would be resolved soon.
Okay.
I actually could you just explain affiliated and non-affiliated?
So an affiliated employee is someone who's recognized by a contract or a collective bargaining agreement. So like all of our teachers are recognized and they're incorporated into the teacher's contract. So they actually have salary schedules that dictate what their salaries are going to be. Same with our administrators we just talked about. We have food service employees in the district who are part of a contract. There's another classification, secretaries and paras and support staff, they're all part of a contract. So their wages are governed based on the agreement that the committee sets with that individual group. Here you have some outliers in the district who aren't part of a union. They're not part of an actual contract. So they are basically, like, if you look at the first person on the list, not to pick anyone out, but just, it's a technician in the district. Our technicians aren't covered by any of our unions. They basically are, we have an opening, we post a job description. Their benefits somewhat parallel what we offer to the union employees, but they don't have a salary schedule to fall back on to say automatically July 1st you're going to get a raise. As a unit, the school committee wouldn't negotiate individually with this group of people, because technically you'd be, if there's 50 people on here, you'd be negotiating 50 different contracts. So most school systems basically have all of your affiliated employees are covered by agreements. I would technically, if you want to consider me, I'd be like just a contract employee, so like my contract kind of governs my salary and benefits and things like that, so I'm not on this list.
Oh, this is.
Yeah, but these, because it's covered under an existing contract between me and you. But this group here doesn't fall with any of those categories. So again, from an HR standpoint, they basically get the same benefits that all of our other unions do, but they don't have a trigger to trigger like a salary increase. So that's why this comes before you for a vote.
Any other questions? So roll call. Al? How do you vote?
Yes.
Yes. Donna?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Yes. 4-0.
On this, we'll take this out of order, right?
Yeah, I was going to ask that.
Okay.
Yeah. If you don't mind, I'd like to do is, if possible, to take item 7 before item 5, only because item 7 is an explanation of the Ingenuity program, and one of the things we have to do in item 5 is approve a budget transfer for that program, so
I
hear
probably
about
should
the
talk about
program
it
first,
first,
yeah.
right? You
Yeah.
probably
Right.
should know what you're voting for.
if that's okay with everybody?
Sure.
Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And that was an oversight on my part. I listed them out of order on the agenda. So we'll ask Linda to do the report on the Ingenuity, and then we can come back to the budget adjustment.
That's coming up during review.
What's that?
That's coming up during his review, nice. So in front of you, I know I wrote you a very long-winded memo, but I just wanted to make sure you had a lot of information about this. One of the things that we do in our council meetings, so we have 3 different levels of council meetings, elementary, middle, and high school. The high school's called the Building Leadership Team, the BLT. We don't eat BLTs, but, sometimes we do bring snacks. One of the things that we do in those council meetings is to look at our current programming that we have and see what's working, why we're doing things, was it just something that we inherited? And we found that at the high school level specifically, we put a lot of focus, K-8, in blended learning environments, students being able to access other curriculum pieces or even building block or interventions. But at the high school level, it's a little different where they're more departmentalized. So as we were looking at the programming, we realized that some of our programs, such as night school, summer school, credit recovery, were just put together, and we didn't have like a good process necessarily for them, or ways for students to actually access what was happening in the curriculum. So one of the things we investigated is what available programs are out there that can work as a blended learning program, and we've, happened on a few of them, but one of them in particular stood out, which was the Edgenuity program. And what that program allows us to do is provide credit recovery for students that might need that piece, that they're working with their deans, be able to have more of a night, when we call it night school, not necessarily have to come at night, but a program where that they can access if they have a non-traditional education, as well as our summer school program for our students. And it wouldn't just be limited to maybe just the 4 core academic areas. This program actually, and I'm very curious to find out how it works for PE, but it has every content area within the program. This is something that we investigated as well with Tewksbury Public Schools, because they've been using it and been very successful with the program. The other piece that I thought was very intriguing was the ability to kind of grow our world language program. So typically, many of our students take science, they take science too, but Spanish and French, and we were trying to incorporate another language such as German into the program. However, that's a very specialized teaching license. So working with our world language teachers, we were trying to see how can we actually expand that program. With Edgenuity, students would have access to not only their classes that they're taking for their graduation requirements, but there's other courses such as Latin, there's Chinese, there's the AP pieces that go with it, there's German. So we're trying to bring that programming a little bit, to be a little bit more robust than just here's 2 languages or 3 languages within a high school. So what we, of course, we love the program, but obviously a program comes at a cost. So we investigated what was being spent at the high school for that cost center and how we could fund this program. So typically every year, I do have a curriculum adoption line. However, we do have a night school line, and if this is going to incorporate the night school piece, we're looking to switch the line item into curriculum adoption. I would fund the rest of it with the monies that I have in there to then get this program into the school, because it technically is a new curriculum adoption that we go forward. And then we would then obviously budget for it appropriately in the right line, working with Joanna for, an online blended learning piece.
Questions?
Just a couple. In terms of the credit recovery at the night school, would they still have the option of going in and working on the computer? So I'm familiar with Apex.
Okay, yeah, they bought Apex. This is the same, yeah, so
All right.
Edgenuity has purchased Apex, and one of the things we didn't want is just this, hey, go online and see how you do and let us know.
Right.
Because some of those kids actually still need contact at the
Exactly,
school.
yes.
And that's why I left that piece in there for a stipend.
Okay.
We want those students to check in with us weekly.
Okay, great.
Rather than just go off and
Yeah,
hope it
that was
works.
my concern,
Yep.
yeah, that they
So we
not have to
did,
check
and
in.
that's gonna be the same with summer school, but summer school has a different funding piece where we just have that, still have that liaison, but they're not physically sitting here every single night, because night school also has the component of work to it, so that's
Exactly.
why these students are able
Right.
to get their degree. We don't have a lot of night school students in Chelmsford, but this program would allow them to have a little bit more asynchronous piece to it, and not that you must show up piece, but there
Right.
is still that human touch to it, that they are working with those students, making sure that they're staying on target. One of the things about this program is you can use it just, from soup to nuts, A to B. You can use it semester-based, you can use it year-long based, or you can customize it. So when they came in to speak to us, obviously all the content coordinators were there, and they, feel very comfortable to be able to customize it. So especially like credit recovery, you may only need this, but somebody else needs this. So the coordinators are going to help make those decisions as what's happening with these academically.
Right. And the only thing I want to add is it's not easy. The courses are not easy.
No, exactly.
yeah,
This is
they're
not just a, hey, do a couple of readings and answer
No.
some questions. This is legitimately a real course. For the world languages in particular, they use Middlebury College, so they incorporated that program, which I know is pretty tough. And quite honestly, this gives the students more options past their graduation requirements, because
Right,
we don't
right.
want this to interfere with graduation requirements, to take more language skills, or if they are doing independent studies, they can use this program to access the curriculum. Our teachers can use it in their core classes right now. So I could assign you certain things from it or use it within my classroom and still use my curriculum that I have. I wish I had something like this when I was teaching, because we were developing it ourselves.
Well, and, I wanted to say, in terms of the credit, there's no gift. You really have to work. I mean, this is, it's
Yeah, and that's what
dense,
we,
you
that's the
know.
message we want to get
Right.
across to the kids.
And then the other question I had was, is there a component for like the blizzard bags or snow day? I'm just throwing that
Did I
out
not say this was
there.
going to come up? I should have
Blizzard
put lunch,
bag's
I should have put lunch on this. We do a lot of,
You know I was gonna ask that. Yeah.
So, and I knew that that question would come up. As we start to investigate different ways for students to have access during these, specialized times, this would be a way for them to access curriculum.
Okay.
Teachers could say, okay, this is what I would like you to do
Okay.
if, in the event that we're not in school. My only concern, obviously, with, it's called extended learning time,
Right.
is access. Do students have computers at home? Is there electricity?
Right,
That one's
right.
always, that's typically been our issue in Chelmsford. It wasn't snow removal, it
Right.
was, nobody had electricity. So we would have to really investigate, what's that gonna look like if you can't, if you have no electricity or your parents don't have multiple computers. Like, I know I have 3 kids at home. If they all don't have a computer, then there's buying for that. But yes, to answer your question, this would be one of those programs for the high school level. And as we go through this, we would like to take a look at it for like more of our 7th and 8th grade students who are making that transition up, that maybe academically they need to access something a little bit more rigorous, or they also have requirements in middle school to pass their core academics pieces.
Right. Great, thank you.
And I also forgot about the piece about like home and hospital. Yeah, so with our special ed population sometimes too, or if students need a non-traditional way to access pieces, or you're just hurt in general, this is something that you can work with.
Great. Thank you.
So just a quick question on the actual line item itself. So you're taking money and then we're gonna move it in here. Is this $25,000 flat? Is this gonna be recurring every year? Do we know there's not gonna be any increases, like?
Well, it is a flat rate, and it is, you incur it every year to access the program. So the way these work is you can do licenses, you could ask for X amount of licenses, or you could have the whole à la carte menu. And quite honestly, when we looked at, like, if you just wanted to gain 15 licenses, you might as well just pay the $25,000, because at that point, it was just becoming too cost-effective, not cost-effective for us to implement it. Plus, we want every content area to be able to access this, not just, 4 academic areas, which typically everybody focuses on.
So I think this is terrific, and I think you and I spoke about this a few months ago, and I can't believe it's already here.
Yeah.
I mean, this is fantastic, because I think we were just, you were
Yeah,
just
we
in
were having a
exploration,
conversation
right,
about
we-
it.
Yeah, and this is just, I'm just as happy about this, so. I think
There
this
is
really adds another layer
Oh,
of,
it does, and there is another piece, I don't know if you want to, I'm not trying to put you on the
I
spot.
probably forgot, so.
No, but if you want to touch base on even regular, say, core academic teachers can utilize the Edgenuity product to get extra materials for their own instruction.
Right, I was somewhat touching on that, but, so it's for all teachers. So your math teachers, your science teachers, everybody can access this. So if I wanted to enhance my current curriculum, I could use pieces from this. If I needed students to work on something particular, right, you needed some type of skill level, I could then give it to you. And I'm not just standing up and delivering, the curriculum. I can put people in groups. So it is going to be available for every teacher at the high school. It's not just a credit recovery piece.
Because we have the district
That's all it is.
license, it's not going to be just limited to kids taking the courses.
yeah, because they offer videos
Yep.
and, attachments, resources outside of Ingenuity or Apex.
Yep, and we're also doing the dual enrollment piece
Right.
too. This is something that could be added into some of those courses when they're trying to expand those programs as
So
well.
I'm familiar with the ELA component, and what I really like about that particular piece too is it, so although we're working on senior year English in high school, there's a skills component too, so it's not just, Shakespeare. There's also, another component as well that reinforces just the basic skills that you need to have.
And that's something
around-
teachers are usually talking about too. They're like,
Right.
well, they're missing some skills.
Right,
This could be that way to do personalized learning
Right.
for students, and it's designed already for you, instead of you home thinking, oh, well, what am I gonna,
Right.
how am I gonna work with Donna today? She really needs some help in X,
really
Y,
do.
and Z. Yeah, you do actually need a lot of help, so I don't know.
Al, do you have something?
Yeah, one thing I'm not clear about, is access to the program controlled by the teacher, or can the student say, I want to take German?
Well, so what we're trying to do right now is that's new waters for us. So we had students actually sign up for German this is the first language we're going to work with. We're going to see how it goes. And then from there, we could expand it out to any of these in a lab situation. So a student could be scheduled for language lab, right? And they would go in and take that course. It would be more like an independent study. And we wanted to make sure that we were not going to affect students' graduation requirement of 2 years of a language. So the last thing we wanted this upcoming school year is to say, take this course, you're a freshman, this should be your course, and then we find out it's not working so well, and now that student took a year of, say, German, and now we have to go put them into Spanish. We're working with students that have already met their graduation requirement for next year.
Okay, that makes sense.
But like someone, just to jump in for a second, like someone in this, they're not necessarily at the high school doing this like on their own. Like, it's part of their scheduling process. They would say, say German, and they're gonna be scheduled to go to the language lab
Yeah.
with other kids during the day. It's not just like a free-for-all.
Yeah.
So they would just go there, but they'd be on the computer receiving their instruction instead of, say, in a classroom taking Spanish or whatnot.
And we're working with a world language teacher that knows how to, incorporate the language, and actually, the one that would be working in German, she actually speaks German, so she just doesn't have the certification
The other
for it.
thing I'm not totally clear on, do night school and summer school still exist?
They do. So summer school this year, we were moving towards an online platform. Typically, it didn't fall in the purview of, say, the curriculum department, but as we were reviewing that several years ago, we found that it needed to be kind of revamped and meet the standards. So we had our classroom teachers, we worked with our actual high school teachers and with the summer school advisor, and we put together another program. This is going to take the place of the students coming to summer school physically. They still can come to the school if they need to access it, but this will be our summer school.
Well, not being familiar with it, the thing that I'm impressed with is the multiple possible uses. I mean, it seems like a lot of different ways we can use it.
Yeah. And what I liked about it is even the person that came from Edgenuity, he used to be a high school assistant principal, so he understood our needs. And they've been very good. They already contacted our tech department to say, these are going to be the requirements, this is what you're going to need, and quite honestly, it's pretty user-friendly. The only platform that's a little different is the world languages, because you will be going into the Middlebury College site to be taking the course, so it doesn't look just like the other sites, but we'll work with that separately, and it's pretty intuitive.
Do you want a motion on this money change separate from the other stuff?
This is actually incorporated into the other
The other
transfer.
stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we can just do this as kind of like a report out, because technically
Okay.
the transfer
No,
is
it's just-
listed on the other page.
okay.
No, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Which brings me, my only question is, so we're taking the transfers from the night school account, so you mentioned we don't have a lot of night school students, so that's why there's available funds there?
Right, so here is this piece that was funded, and,
Replace it.
right, we
Yeah.
would like to replace, we will still have night school, but
Yeah.
use that funding to actually have a program that would be more conducive to what we're asking of students.
Great. Okay. Any other things on that? Okay, so now we can go back to the budget adjustments.
Yes, so I'll actually maybe ask Joanna, if you don't mind, to kind of walk you through this page. Since we approved our budget back in the end of March, I think, actually, at this point, these are some of the changes that we're recommending. Oh, good night, girls. These are some of the changes that we're recommending to just bring our budget up to be current for July 1st as we do our kind of upload into Munis for the year. I'll have Joanna walk you through them, but this will touch on the therapeutic program set aside, kind of properly putting it in the right locations, and a couple smaller adjustments as we go through.
Thank you. So as Superintendent just said, the main budget transfer here is for the therapeutic program. And you heard the presentation, I think at the last school committee meeting that the principals gave on their readout. We had put a placeholder of $300,000 in the other instructional services, special ed, until we knew exactly how we were going to design the program for labor. And we're requesting that $300,000 be moved to the three categories I list. Kind of on the left is where we put it in the budget book, and on the right is where we would like it to be. So we like a BCBA 2 teachers, and 4 paraprofessionals, and that comes in slightly less than the 300,000. It's 296,452. So that's the first transfer for the fiscal 19 budget. The second one is for the student accident insurance. When we put the budget together, it was an estimate of $27,990, and since that time, I've received the actual quote, and that one is also slightly less, $930 less. So I'm asking for a reduction there. The third one is a clothing allowance, and since the budget was approved, we have a new contract with the custodians, and it does have a clothing allowance that was not in the fiscal 19 budget. So I'm asking on those other 2 savings from up above, that those funds be shifted to the custodial section of the budget. And then, if you may recall, toward the end of the budget book, we have that one line item for the Valley Collaborative credit, and that number is, we know the credit's going to be in the few $100,000 range, but we just kind of have a placeholder in there. So this is just adjusting that placeholder by $1,522 to have it balance out to the $6,000. The fourth is what we were just talking about with Linda's presentation on Edgenuity. So we have a line item for night school instructors. It's like $18,500, and we're leaving the stipend portion in the budget for the person to oversee, people coming into the labs or that. But $13,500 we'd like to move to the curriculum adoptions line. And then the last one, this is a very minor one. When we were putting together the detail of all the budgets from all the schools, we did find one elementary school had requested $1,000 for social studies general supplies, and that was just a small oversight. We'd like to add that back in and, again, take it from that Little Valley offset line so that that one school can get what they originally asked for back in December. Any questions?
I move that the fiscal year 2019 budget dollars be shifted to the appropriate DESI function codes aligned with the programs as presented.
Perfect.
Very good. Second.
Okay, any questions, any discussions? My one question is just on the therapeutic program. Those are all salaries. Is there going to be any need for furniture or equipment with that program that's not covered in there?
The 300,000, we knew kind of coming out of the gates was going to be largely personnel.
Yeah.
Molly, the principal of the South Row, is still kind of identifying the space at the particular school. If there is additional furnishings that are going to be required, we would probably look to the special ed grant for the year, because it's kind of a one-time cost. We have some extra money in the grant to be able to allocate towards a build-out of a program. Curriculum material-wise, they're really going to be using a lot of our core curriculum. It's not going to be a separate curriculum. And again, we're only talking 2 classrooms. There will be some smaller things that they're going to need, but within the budget that we have, we'll be able to take care of that. There's not significant furnishing or outfitting costs associated. Yeah, no, we're fine.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure. Okay. Anybody else have any questions? We have to do roll call.
This would be a roll
Okay.
call, yeah.
Roll call. Al?
Aye.
Donna?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Aye. 4-0.
Thank you. What we will do, just for your own sake, it's nice to have as many of these adjustments done before we actually post the fiscal 19 budget. So we'll actually incorporate these final changes into the budget document that you were originally given in March with all of these updates. And then we'll present that to you at the last meeting in June that we end up having, just so you can actually kind of have the complete document of the roadmap that's going to start us in fiscal 19. There may still be amendments going forward next year, but these are the big programmatic changes, so it'll be nice to just have them all incorporated within the document for tracking purposes. Next item on the agenda this evening, this is an annual vote that you take. As you, I'm sure you know, we are a member district of the Valley Collaborative, and there's a board of directors at Valley Collaborative that oversee the operations. I believe historically in Chelmsford, the superintendent has been appointed to be the representative for the board. I very much enjoy the work. I'm happy to do that. It's a great group of school administrators, and the staff at Valley is wonderful to work with. So I would love to remain as your appointee to that board. But this is an annual vote that you take to appoint me to that, and then it gets conveyed to them.
I move that we approve the appointment of Dr. Lang to the Valley Collaborative Board of Directors.
Second.
Questions, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 0.
Thank you. Linda, we did the report on the curriculum adoption, so we can bypass that. And we bumped down to the approval of the field trips. So we actually have 4 field trips before you this evening. You may take them all in one vote if you would like. The first request is, they're all Chelmsford High School related. The first one is the yearbook advisors. This is next year's advisors going to an overnight event at Bryan University down in Rhode Island, June 25th and 26th. And then we look forward to next year. The cross-country team is requesting to go to the Manhattan Invitational. This is kind of an annual trip that they take. The hotel that they stay in is in Connecticut, so I just noted that, even though the trip is technically in New York, so I just put both on there in case anyone wonders why there's 2 cities. But technically, they're going to stay over in Connecticut, but the event is in New York. That's October 12th and 13th. And then we have 2 trips for the world language, the French students. The staff is looking to take the 10th grade students for a trip May 24th to 27th to Quebec City, Canada. And then that's next year, the year after, to take 11th and 12th grade students. Again, that'll be the primary focus for an overseas trip to Paris, France. And that would happen over the February vacation, so February 14th to 24th. Oftentimes, as you know, but even just for the public watching at home, like, why would we approve a trip a year or something in advance? It's to really allow the faculty advisor and the kids to, number one, start raising money for the trip, because it is costly and the kids pay for these trips on their own, but also for us to be able to secure the best rates with the travel agencies that the kids go through. But I think it's a wonderful opportunity for the students. I'm amazed at how many opportunities that they have to go overseas. It's really a cool thing. So I support all 4 trips. I would ask you to as well. Happy to answer any questions that you might have, but you can take them up all together if you'd like.
I move that we approve the Chelmsford High School yearbook trip, the Chelmsford High School cross-country trip, the 10th grade French student trip, and the 11th and 12th grade French student trip.
Second.
Any discussion, any questions? I guess my question is for Linda, just on the description of the Quebec trip. They talk about not doing the 8th grade Quebec trip.
Right.
Doing it has that been cleared with the middle school and everything else?
Not completely, but yes, they are looking to do that. Obviously, one of the teachers that was at the middle school has moved to the high school, who runs that trip. And in order to keep the integrity of that program, she has been working with the middle school to remove that from, it's only been the McCarthy Middle School that's been going, and plus that kind of makes both of the programming more equitable. And so I think they're pretty much at agreement, but I don't want to give 100%.
All right, but they're in discussion on that.
They are in discussion, and it sounds like it's going more,
Right,
towards
with
the high school.
teacher, but yeah, okay.
Right.
Okay.
I have a question. Do they have to have passports now?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
They do. The
Big
only thing
change.
actually, the only thing you can do now is if your license changed, if you are old
Right,
enough,
that
you can
card.
get the real ID,
Yeah.
and that will get you across the border. But yes, they would need, I would suggest a passport, because they don't even need that for flying too.
Any further questions on the field trips? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? 4-0.
What an agreeable group.
Just going back on a couple of things. A couple of things that also were on here. We did get some of the new policies from
Oh, that's right,
MASC.
we skipped that,
Um,
correct.
Go ahead, sorry, go ahead.
Are we not doing number 8?
Well, we're gonna come back.
Oh, that's what I'm coming back to, sorry.
So in terms of the policies, we did receive them, or the superintendent received them. They are fairly extensive, as Al will attest, so.
Oh, I forgot about that.
We thought it would be best that, if we have a couple weeks to look them over
Yeah.
before we actually have discussions on them and approve them one way or the other. So we're gonna kind of table that until our next meeting, if that's okay.
Yeah, Mike Gilbert from the MASC, I communicated with him last week to see if we were going to be in the policies, and he indicated he would. He sent them to me over the weekend for sections A through F, the 6 sections that we performed so far. And I started going through them on Sunday, just to kind of give them a read-through, and after a couple of hours, it was time-consuming. It was going to take more time to really get them all done, and I knew if it was taking me a couple hours on a Sunday, I didn't think it was fair to you to give it to you on Monday and ask you to do it for tonight. So my goal is to do my internal kind of look-through by Friday, and then I'll email all 6 sections off to you, and that'll give you, hopefully plenty of time before the next school committee meeting to kind of review them on your own. So that's why I didn't put section 9 on the agenda tonight. But as soon as I get through them, like I said, my goal is to try to get them off to you by Friday, so you have a good, week and a half to be able to review them before we actually vote them in public.
From what you've seen so far, just on the ones you've looked at, I mean, were there a lot of changes, or?
No, I just picked up, like, what I'm trying to do is basically, when we went through the process that day, we had the current Chelmsford School Committee policy, we had the MASC preferred policy, and then we kind of took notes about, did we take one or the other, or were there any even modifications after we accepted one? So it's kind of painstaking work, but I'm
Yeah.
just going through to make sure that they actually truly reflect what we said in the subcommittee we would do. And then I'm even kind of going through now, kind of reading this a second time and flagging some things to talk about, just to make sure we really know what we're going to be implementing, and if there's a change, if there's anything we want to look at. I found very small, little grammatical things, but nothing substantive. But it just takes time to look at all 3 documents, and I couldn't pull it off on Sunday. And in fairness, I didn't think you'd be able to turn around either.
As a generalization, I think the language is simpler and more straightforward. And when it's based on state statute or whatever, there's just reference to that, so
I think that makes sense,
language is
though.
taken out.
Right, because then if the law changes,
Yeah.
you just.
Right.
So it's cleanup, kind of.
Right, so they've just been kind of comparing them side to side,
Okay.
saying, okay, we like this one or that one, or, we don't need this one, or we can move this one or somewhere else, so.
But there's been a couple times where we've said, like, all right, we'll take the MASC,
Right.
but we're gonna take out this line, and I'm just kind of going through to make sure
Sure.
that we've done
Do
that.
we know if the other committee members are going to be there Thursday? We have a meeting, right?
We do have a meeting with the policy subcommittee Thursday at 3 for policies. It's my understanding that she is.
Okay.
I can confirm ahead of
I
time.
just thought it might be, I don't know if somebody else would be
I'll probably
there.
be
I
here
think it'd be
anyways.
good rather than
Yeah.
just myself.
I'll probably be here anyways, but
Okay.
I believe she is coming for that meeting.
Okay.
I don't know if she'll come for both, but.
Okay.
So we're gonna put that off till next meeting.
Perfect.
I think it's gonna be, take a while. to go through
It's a lot of time. And to
Yeah.
be honest with you, the other thing we were hoping to do was kind of review 2 sections at a meeting, and then a couple weeks later, review them and approve them. So if you even, once you look at them, if you decide that's what you want to do, if you want to break it out and only put like 2 or 3 on the agenda, and actually kind of take some time to talk through things, why don't you take a look at it? I'll work with Dennis and kind of figure out how to post it. But it's good that we're actually making some pretty good progress. Like I said, we're already through 6 sections. It's just pretty meaty material, and I just want to make sure if we're doing this, we're doing it, fully, and we're not going to have to go back to stuff.
I'd like to commend the person from the association, because he clarifies why he's recommending, if he's recommending a change, he immediately tells you why, so you don't have to figure things out.
And the other thing we have on here was.
Yeah, I missed that because I didn't have
Plan.
the agenda
Just
up.
kind of planning.
So where we're at with the facilities assessment, so we had the big facility assessment a year ago. We received all the documentation from that. Internally, myself, Brian, staff from DPW on the town side, have gone through that, it's like a massive Excel document, and basically tried to carve out stuff that we've already completed. And then we've gone through and they had a prioritization list on items. We've kind of added our own to it, and we're sorting it into kind of major chunks to try to figure out how we're going to approach this. It is a lot, it is time consuming, and, we're kind of wrapping that up internally within the next couple of weeks. But we're going to be at the point, and I think the summer would be a great time to do it. to basically have some working meetings. And I think it would be too cumbersome, to be honest with you, to try to do it like at a regular school committee meeting, where we really need to kind of have documents in front of us and, maybe be projecting stuff and kind of talk through why we're recommending certain things, where and when. So I just wanted to we talked about putting it out there a little bit to talk about, would there be interest and a willingness, I guess, to carve out some longer chunks of meetings, say, during the summertime. They could even be during the day, if we wanted to. They don't have to be at night, where we might knock off, like, say, like a 3-hour chunk to literally just come in and kind of do some work on, get a little presentation from me and Brian and Gary and, say, Kathleen or whoever else about why we're kind of ranking things certain places, or how we want to attack this. And, kind of have it be a working document and go through and make our edits as we're doing it. And then a lot of this discussion will really fall into, what are we going to do building-wise? So how is this going to impact, say, our MSBA application? How is this going to impact what we might go after as far as, like, say, town fundings to support through the capital plan, some of our school initiatives? So it's all interwoven. And we have to have that discussion about, we've submitted the application for the high school for that project. We're hoping that that's going to come through. How long do we continue to proceed under that course of action? So there's a lot to kind of talk about. But I think, realistically, I think it's going to take us multiple sessions, and good, like, say, 3-hour working sessions, that if we could agree to do something during the summertime, if people are open to that, because we were only going to be kind of meeting, we really were only going to meet in July for a quick meeting to do the end of the year budget stuff. Our next meeting wasn't going to be until August. So if we could really do some work in the summer, I'd love to. I just wanted to kind of throw that out to you and see if that could happen, and are there particular, like, I can do Linda likes doing those, what are those things? We asked.
Zoom?
No, you ask the people to pick what times they're free.
Oh, a doodle.
A doodle. Yeah, she
Yeah.
likes this.
I do like
It
doodles.
actually works pretty good. But you just pick the different times where you can work, but we could kind of sketch together a schedule.
Sure.
For some meetings over the summer, if that worked for you.
That'd work for me. I'd work it out.
Yeah,
That would've
'cause
been a-
you're gone for June, but you're back in July.
Yeah, I got my military training in June, and then I'll be back after that, so that should be fine.
That would have been a lot to put in an email, so I figured if we could just kind of mention it to you, see if that would work.
I think it's a fantastic idea. One other person, and I don't know if it would be appropriate to have him, but I know he had expressed some concern about this, was Paul, the town manager, Paul Cohen. If he would attend these meetings as well.
He's welcome to.
I think it would be nice to reach out to him and invite him, because I think that he was interested in seeing how this was going to kind of roll out.
Sure.
And the other is, would we do a presentation at town meeting?
We could.
I was just wondering, it's kind of we haven't really talked about this in a while.
Right.
So I don't know, just something to think about.
Or we could work it in, if we do some of the public forums.
Yeah,
I was gonna ask that.
absolutely, yeah.
That could be a
Yeah.
good venue for that.
True.
And then people
Yeah.
can come if they're interested in that.
Yep.
Find out what.
Yeah.
I think public feedback's important for any kind of big capital project.
Well, yeah, but I do think that it's been a while since we've talked about the comprehensive,
Right.
and I
Right.
think it's time to have an update.
Good refresher.
Yeah.
Right, and questions have come up,
Yeah.
town meetings and stuff about it, so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
but
that's fine.
if Linda could doodle.
I'll do it, I'm all in, I love it,
I don't know what
It's
that
weird,
is,
but I'm in. Let's do it.
Yeah.
it's fine.
Great.
Right.
Okay, next, any liaison reports?
I have many.
You have many?
I have
Okay.
many. First off, the Friends of Music Bottle and Can Drive will be on June 9th. Hasn't passed out. June 9th, so bring your bottles and cans to them at McCarthy Middle School. It saves you the time of having to sort them at the supermarket, and it's a great fundraiser for them. And at CPAC, they've really put together a great year. They've accomplished a lot. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they are going to do next year, but I know that one of their goals is to really kind of get the word out early on in the year at curriculum nights and things like that, so that way parents know that this is a resource that's available to them, if they need it for support or information or whatever it might be. Community read-in was phenomenal. I just had such a great day. I could have spent all day at these schools. So I visited, first of all, Miss DeVito's class at McCarthy, the 5th grade. Great group of kids. I could have talked to them for another hour. They were engaging. They were just so well-behaved, polite, terrific. A real credit to the staff there and their parents, to be perfectly honest with you. Then I was at Miss Dawson's kindergarten class at South Row. And there, I read a story and participated in Are You Smarter Than a Kindergartner? And I lost, because they are very bright, very cute. Another group I could have spent a lot of time with, but just, it was really nice to see, kind of the full-day kindergarten in action. And I asked them, can you tell me a little bit about your schedule during the day? And they said, well, you can just look at the wall. It's right there posted for you. So, yeah. And while I was at South Row, Engineering Day was happening. So Christina Papadopoulos did a phenomenal job with the help of Lockheed Martin came in. And you had to see some of the things these kids were doing. Bottle rockets, something on reflection. There was one, it was called Paper Strong. And so they got a sheet of
Stacking
paper.
paper,
And
yeah.
one student got a stack of 90 pounds of textbooks on his paper structure that supported it. It was incredible. So it was really terrific to see that. And last, I have to give a little shout out to the second grade class at Byam, Ms. Koken's class. They were terrific as well. I don't think I've had that much student focus. It was a little unnerving, to tell you the truth, because they were
Not used to
yeah, I'm not used to it. And they were, really engaged in listening and asking great questions. And I really can't say enough great things about this program. And Ginger Skog did a terrific job putting it together, and it was really nice to be in the schools, and a really nice feel, a lot of positive energy, and these classrooms were really terrific. So.
I do have one. Sorry. So I did attend the Byam Art Show, which was really, which is a great event we do every year, where it's literally just all of the students' art, and you get to walk through, and the parents really love it, and then you get to buy the art, which raises funds for the art program. So that was a really fun event.
Just a couple of things I'd like to talk about. I'm sure most of you saw the Little Sun article about our graduate who is going to be controlling the latest space venture. He made reference to someone else being at Space Tech. We have two brothers, in addition to whoever that is, the Salmi brothers, who are at Space Tech. And so it's important for us to point these things out, because these are outstanding positions and opportunities. And all of these students are young. It was a 2010 that's featured in the paper today, and the Salmis are from roughly the same time. And so it's amazing this is taking place. We had students of the day, students of the month at Rotary today, and one of the young ladies she's going to spend the first 2 years of her college experience at Trinity College in Ireland. Then she's coming back and finishing her degree 2 years at Columbia. And she made, the presentations are all great. I wish, everyone would watch when they're on TV. But, Dean McIsaac took it and put it on Facebook. So if you have a chance, read it. It's really impressive. And the thing that's impressive about it is all the kids give feedback about what a wonderful experience they had, but she expressed it in such an eloquent way. So if you have a chance to see that, please do. And I also wanted to commend the deans and the student officers and so forth for graduation, because as most of you know, Principal Murray was incapacitated and couldn't be there. And he plays a major role in that. And I think everybody picked up the ball and did a great job. It was a wonderful graduation all around. But I think when something like that happens, it's great to see people just pick up and
On a couple days' notice, too. I mean,
Yeah.
it's pretty
So
good.
a lot of, the other thing, I apologize, I should have apologized earlier for being late, but I was at the volleyball game, I get carried away. Not only our athletic teams, but the musical groups, I think it's been brought up before, but I think the Tammy nominations, we were nominated in almost every category going, and had a number of winners, and it was just in that the finance department has these presentations, videos that they put out, and the award winner there. So I think we just we win so many things in Chelmsford that we just take it for granted. But the kids and staff, well, also, I don't know if you saw it, but Dolan's is awarding $10,000, oh, I'm sorry,
We
sorry, but,
mentioned it.
it just goes on and on and on, and, and it's hard to keep up with all of these things, but, well, another one that I wanted to mention, there was a young Keo, I remember that name, and another artist who were featured in the media this last week for their Globe work, and we had mentioned in general terms some of the other kids, but I'm just amazed, schools would be happy to have achievement in one of these areas, and just both staff and students, it's so much fun, and is, so rewarding to see this continue to go on all the time.
It's great.
And, I think you bring up a great point, and I think one group that may be overlooked sometimes is the parents. Ginger organizing the community read-in, Christina Papadopoulos doing the engineering day. The after-prom breakfast happened,
Yes.
that's a major undertaking.
All the PTOs.
All the PTOs, and a lot of these things happen,
Yeah.
with the support of the parents. And, I don't think we talk enough about, how important a role they play in helping a lot of these activities or supporting their students.
Absolutely. I'd like to piggyback on
yeah.
that, and that our enrichment program is essentially funded by the PTOs.
Right.
And I don't think people understand, but their budgets, I may be a little bit off, but I think most of them are in the $25,000 to $40,000 range, and much of that goes into enrichment, which, again, if we tried to do that through the school budget on top, it would be a huge,
Yeah.
in addition to our budget, we just take it for granted, but.
Yeah.
We've-
I'd like to
we've
see us
talked about
talk more about that.
We've
yeah.
talked about that, having maybe them come in, maybe
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a great
council
idea.
schools come in and just tell people just all the things that are going,
Right.
all the programs that are run in our elementary schools, and middle schools,
Right.
based on what the PTO does.
Right, I think the success of these programs and the students, is not only staff but parent-driven.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely. Speaking of winning, because we did win a Knowledge Bowl last year.
When we win again?
They start on the 19th, which is our next meeting. So I don't know if anybody would be opposed to maybe pushing our next meeting to the next week, which would be the 26th instead, because I know both
26th.
superintendent and assistant superintendent have to be there for the beginnings.
Saying,
and,
bring it. She's
That's
starting
my
to fight
second.
me.
What's the matter?
She's like, bring it on.
I was trying to
She's
push them a little.
poking it, yeah.
I just,
So, I don't know if anybody.
Sorry,
I don't
what's
have
the
any.
event?
So.
It's a knowledge bowl.
Oh, okay, that I know, okay, I get
Right,
it.
so they're gonna open up, the opening
Yeah.
night is the 19th, which is our next
Yeah.
meeting. So
yeah, I
don't know
think
if
we should
anybody-
be there for that.
people
Yeah,
be
it's
okay
It's a
with-
really cool event.
Yeah, and that way we can attend that too.
Right.
But if we could push our
The
meeting to the
pressure's
26th.
already building, because
I
the
know.
Suns put out,
Yeah.
defending champions.
Oh, did the insert, did it go in the paper yesterday?
No, it's before that, but within the
an article- it
last
was an
week or
article,
so,
yeah.
Well, there was an article,
Yeah,
which certainly set us up, but there's going to be, if it wasn't this past Sunday, it's next Sunday, there's an actual colored insert in the paper that has the bio of each of the kids and all that stuff. So
Oh,
this,
wow.
Yeah.
there's going to be a nice thing, but, well, we won last year, we were offered the opportunity to host it. So, kind of on our home ground, and so we're going to host it Tuesday the 19th and Wednesday the 20th. It's a really cool event to go to.
That's great.
This is a big thing historically that's been kind of a nice competition in Lowell that in recent years has become more of a Merrimack Valley type thing. So I'd love to be able to go, and you're certainly welcome as well. I think it'd be a nice take if
Yeah,
we did, to be
absolutely.
honest with you. If we just pushed our meeting for the 19th and the 26th, that would also allow school to get out, the 22nd, which is we're on target for, and then we could do any little end-of-the-year report outs at that point.
I just want to say that if they win again, no pressure, but you're infinitely more popular in the parade when you have the kids, when the kids with the trophies.
Trophy's pretty
that
heavy,
was
though. We're gonna
huge.
have to
Yeah.
get them something to
Those
walk
poor
with.
kids, by the time we got to Dalton Road,
Oh, yeah, they were like, their arms were hanging.
They had the wagon
this is a
appointments,
heavy
they
trophy.
did. So is that okay with everybody to move to
Fine with
26th?
me.
Everybody-
I have no skin in the game, so I'm all for it.
Yes.
One other thing to mention, and Al would know better, he participated in it, but the Alumni Associated Golf Tournament, and I'm sure Al.
Yes,
Torch
we
the
weren't the
question.
lowest score. Well, that would have been good. We weren't the highest score either.
So I guess that was a very successful event too.
Yeah, it was a great
Yeah, so
day.
that was good.
Yeah, you got good weather, too.
Yeah. I'd just like also to point out, the Rotary Club, which, is is closely tied to the school district in a lot of ways with scholarships and Students of the Month and all those things. It's our 50th anniversary year, and we will be having a celebration on the 21st, but I just think it's worthy of mention because we are so closely tied to the schools, and we enjoyed working with the kids. Having the Students of the Month come in, it's so much fun for us, and I hope that people watch when they have a chance to see them on TV because they're just fantastic.
Any other items people would like to discuss? I had just one question, just an email I got just before I came in terms of the high school parking lot. What's
Oh, yeah.
the status on that? And
Yeah, they're gonna get a new parking lot.
yeah,
No, you may actually, get some calls or some emails on this. As part of the capital plan for the year, the high school back parking lot from the, kind of the entrance area at Harrington, going all the way down past the PAC, and I'm not sure if it goes up to the top of the hill or not this year. It's a two-phase project, was gonna be done. Originally, most of the work was scheduled to begin July 1st. Gary is working with different contractors and some contracts that the town had, and some of the work is actually being phased in early, so it's actually going on now. Some of it is not too disruptive, some of it is. I know, like, over the weekend, they went in and removed the curbing around some of the islands, which, again, doesn't look great, but it really is not impacting the operations at all, and it just allows things to move a little bit quicker later on. The bigger change is gonna be, I think it's like the next 2 days, where there's one of those machines that needs to come in up to grind up the road, and basically, after it comes through, it leaves like chopped up hot top, which you can drive on or whatnot and park on. It's just that the parking lot for the last couple of weeks, like, won't be lined, right? So people are gonna have to really kind of pay attention to where they're parking, try to park straight. But that access road from Harrington down to the back of the school, while the machine is doing that first phase of the work, isn't gonna be accessible. So the dean sent an email out to and I really do credit the deans. They've stepped up big time with Principal Murray not being there and kind of coordinating things still at the school. Everyone needs to come in the Graniteville Street entryway, and if you need to go down to the Packway to park or to get to the athletic fields or the stadium, you just gotta come in that front way and go down the back access way as opposed to coming in from Harrington. So they are gonna park some cars up at the top of the hill tomorrow, like when you come in Graniteville, you take a right, there's an area where they park for a lot of the track meets. They are gonna park some student cars there just to free up some of the back parking lots so that they can be doing the work on it. So once the big truck is gone and it's done its grind up, we'll be able to go back to driving on the regular road. It's a day or two, I'm assuming, and it's not gonna look pretty, but it's very drivable, and it's a little bit of a distraction, but I think if this helps them to stay on schedule, and we can get the whole project done over the course of the summer, we're better off. But if you do hear anything on that, the deans at the high school are trying to communicate with parents and staff about expectations and trying to work with us to come in Graniteville for a couple of days instead of the back parking lot. If you have night events like obviously the lacrosse is gonna be big tomorrow night. We're hosting 2 state tournament games. The girls and the boys are both playing. We think at this point, because it's after hours, you'll be able to use the other way down. But worst case scenario, you just have to come through Graniteville and then go down to the stadium that way. It's an inconvenience, but in the end, it's gonna be nice having obviously a new parking lot.
So is it because the DPW felt it was best to do it now, to get kind of a jump on that?
I think it's a scheduling issue with the contractors that they're gonna be using. And there are multiple contractors who, from my understanding, are doing work on this project.
Okay.
Some contractors are doing work with the actual curbing, so you've gotta take out the old curb, you've gotta put in new curb. There's a different contractor that does the hot top pavement, there's a different contractor that does the grind up of the work. And certain contractors, and I believe the grind up guy in particular, was available like now or at the end of July.
Okay.
And if you don't take it now, then that's gonna hold the project off until the end of July, which could then push us into not being done by the time the kids go back to school. So it was really, it was a scheduling issue with contractors, from what I understand.
And this is happening through the DPW, the scheduling and stuff?
DPW is coordinating with the
Okay.
contractors.
Yeah.
And kind of telling us, where we're gonna have problems and not.
Okay.
And we're trying to take that information and then just kick it out as quickly as possible to the staff and the parents. And again, I do think it's gonna be disruptive for a day or two as far as traffic's concerned. And then we're gonna be able to go back to driving on it. It just, again, it's just not gonna look pretty, and it's not gonna be lined, but it's gonna be movable. So I think that's the bigger issue.
So those couple days, there'll be some parking back there. It's not like the whole lot's closed or anything. It's just the
Yeah, you
access.
you have to access it from the Graniteville Road
Okay.
and not the Harrington Road, because they're gonna be working going down the driveway. They've gotta remove the curbing first, and it's a little tight there, just based on how big the machines are. And then, there's also fencing that's like right up to the curbing, so they just have to be careful, because we don't wanna start knocking fences down. It's doable, it's a little bit of a distraction, but, you know, it's more the communication piece. And we're just gonna try to keep sending information out to let people know how to kind of park and maneuver around for the next couple of days.
Great. Thank you, Phil.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, anybody else, any other things they want to bring up? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
4-0.